My flight plan to the moon. How exciting! I got to go to the moon. I have a private pilot license and I always make a flight plan before every flight. It's vital to make a flight plan for the safe flying. This time it's a moon. It's a little bit different. First of all, not airplane, spaceship. I don't like the name spaceship. Flying object. Okay. My choice of the flying object is this spaceship. It has a two-part, lander and return module. Okay, each has 1.5 tons, and I'm gonna use nuclear batteries. I don't wanna use those batteries. I have an electric car and the battery died, and I don't wanna rely on those batteries all my life. I mean, my life is at stake. I want multiple nuclear batteries. Now, the lander is about 1.5 tons, and about half of the ton is the fuel used on the way to the moon. Now, total having 3 tons, you need to have at least 6,000 Newton thrust. The reason? When you go to the moon, the gravity is 1/6, but that's average. Depend on location. Such a small planet, the gravity could be different depend on the location. Let's say about G. Assume the G is 2 on the moon. You need at least to float 3 tons. Well, when it's time, by the time it's arrived, it's going to be 2.5 tons, but have some margin on it. It's, you need to have 6,000 Newton thrust. Otherwise, you're gonna fall to the moon and crash. I don't wanna do crash landing, so I need the sufficient engine power. Okay, now you have to make a flight profile, which is usually direction and the speed. But direction, I talk about it later. Let's make a speed. Speed is complicated. The strategy is to stay in Earth's orbit as long as possible. Go to the highest orbit, which is about 100,000 kilometers. And to reach such an orbit, it's going to take 2 days of flight. We had to slowly adjust the orbit size from low orbit to the high orbit. Okay, so at that place, I think it's Mach 4.5, somewhere around. I calculated this. You gotta use your physics to calculate. Now, step 1 is stay at the high orbit, and from there, swing shot to the moon. Okay, now 4.5 is not fast enough because that kind of speed, it takes long time to get to the moon, so you have to speed up. It's about 200,000 kilometers. This area, you got to have at least Mach 10, so you have to speed up to Mach 10. Then it's going to be about 15 hours of flight, and from here we had to deaccelerate. In order to deaccelerate, step 3, you have to flip the flying object other way around and start blasting the wrong way, and we had to get down to 40 kilometers circular orbit. So you calculate, this physics equation and moon's weight and the gravity constant, so it's going to be about this speed. So profile, we have to get down to about Mach 7 and slow down. If I could successfully get into the orbit, then remaining is just landing procedure. Okay, now this getting into orbit has a lot of issues. I explain this later. Okay, Step 4 is landing and deattaching the lander to come back. So the return module is 1.5 ton with plenty of fuel. When it arrives Earth, it's going to be 1 ton. About half tons fuel is used. And landing is all computer controlled landing process. Okay, this is a local computer on board. Okay, before that, it's all computers on Earth, and the computer is used on Earth by communication. But at this process, it's going to be on-board computer. Without computer, it's impossible to land. And after Explorer launched the capsule to the orbit. Now, step 5, accelerate to Mach 10 again. And when it comes close to Earth, deaccelerate again and get into the Earth's orbit. If you don't have enough fuel, then you have to use a method of skating around the Earth's orbit a few times to slow down and get into the orbit. This is very tricky. Definitely, we need a navigation signals to guide us from the Earth. Okay. Now, entering the orbit on the moon. Obviously, if you just directly go to the moon, it's gonna crash, right? Okay. If the speed is too fast and close, it's gonna skid, just like a stone on the water. Okay. Now, speed is just right for the orbit, then it successfully get into the orbit. Okay. You can't just go around moon that easily. You have to get into the orbit first to make a swing shot and come back, even you don't land it. Okay. If you get into the orbit, you can land it and you can come out, go to the orbit and swing shot back again. Now, if you are a little bit too far, then you get effect of the gravity, but it's going to go out of space. It's just like a Indian moon lunar probe. It just went somewhere and it came back 8 years later. Means it's like a comet, it's go all the way to the far away and slowly come back. It takes 8 years. You don't want to stay in the flying orbit in 8 years. You don't have enough food, or you're dead anyway. So this is very crucial, how you get into. And now from Earth's orbit, we have to do slingshot to the moon, but we have to calculate carefully. It takes about 3 days. In 3 days, moon moves about 61 degrees. So we have to swing shot this direction, not this direction. Okay, if you go there, you're dead. You have to swing shot this direction, because 3 days trip, moon is here, and if this angle is not accurate, then you're dead too. Okay, and also speed has to be adjusted. Speed, if you come too early here, the moon is here. So what do? You cannot stop. You're dead. And when the moon, if you are too slow, moon passed, then you're dead too. So the speed has to be monitored and adjusted every moment. And who's gonna do that? Supercomputer on Earth. Computer, without that, it's impossible, because there's no signal coming from moon. There's no navigation signal coming. Someday we may put navigation signal unit on the moon, and traveling will be much easier, because the way right now the airplane goes to the airport is it just follow the signal from the airport. Say airport, every airport runway has a signal, and airplane coming and just detect this signal, so know the exact location. But there's no signal coming from moon. So what do? Well, the visually is there's no reference. It's in the space. Duh. There's no 7-Eleven or anything. So the visual flight in the airplane, you look at the mountain, lake, and other stuff. Okay, here dark black space 3D and moons there. You don't know where the direction is. So it's vital to keep communication with Earth. And Earth nowadays has a technology to detect your speed and location and tell you where you are. Okay, and that's gonna be the navigation guide. So Earth use supercomputer and adjust the direction, speed, everything to reach to the moon. Without that, it's impossible to reach the moon. So it's going to be vital to keep communication with Earth Control Center with a supercomputer, and that's guide me to the moon. That's basically very crucial stuff I need in order to go to the moon. Otherwise, I cannot just fly myself. There's no way. Okay, so I'm gonna have a fun on the moon. After I arrive, I'm gonna send the Twitter and let you know, and I'll come back another 3 days later, and hopefully I can get back to the Earth's orbit and land. Okay, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy this. You can make your own flight plan. You need some kind of somewhat physics knowledge to do that. You can't just dream like a cartoon, like the flight plan. It has to be very accurate. So that's it. Thank you for listening.